Welcome to the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast, where we don't take from insurance companies. Here are your hosts, Mr. Jordan Comstock and Mr. Ben Tuine. This podcast is sponsored by BoomCloud Dental Membership Software, www.boomcloudapps.com, and Veritas Dental Resources, www.veritasdentalresources.com. Enjoy the show.
Welcome to another exciting episode of the Navigating Dental Insurance Podcast. I am your host today, Jordan Comstock, and with me today, I have Mr. Leonard Tau. Len, how you doing, man?
I'm good, Jordan. How are you?
Doing good. We don't have Ben on the show today, so you're going to be my co-host if that's cool with you.
Hey, I'm my own podcaster, so sure, yeah. I can host my own show too.
Yeah. So you're good. When did we meet, Len?
We met. Well, we actually had
SCN.
SCN last year. SCN.
Yeah.
June of 2018.
Yeah, June of 2018, we met at SCN in California or something.
Yeah,
like
Anaheim.
Anaheim, and we hung out, and we enjoyed each other, and I've been on your podcast, and we've seen each other since at all these other conferences we go to. So it's been fun getting to know you, Len.
Yes.
So today we're going to be talking about the importance of reviews, since this is a huge topic in the industry, and especially if you are a practice that is wanting to reduce dependence on dental insurance, you gotta nail this, in my opinion. And Len is one of the experts. I've heard Len speak a few times, and I've always enjoyed. Last time you spoke, what was you used the GIF of, or not the GIF, but the basketball game. What was that basketball game again? We were talking about the whole.
It was NBA Jam.
Yes, he managed to incorporate NBA Jam into his presentation, which I thought was pretty cool. So we want to bring him on the show today to NBA Jam it up, I guess.
Show how three things you do can help accelerate your online presence and make you stand out and get that slam dunk to happen.
Yeah, totally. So. But first, I want to hear a little bit about you, Len. You're a practicing dentist. You are also the host of the Raving Dentist or Raving Patients podcast. And tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you get into dentistry? How long you've been doing it, and all that fun stuff?
Well, my dad's a dentist, and he used to practice in the house that I grew up in. And I used to venture down to his office and watch him, as I say, recreate smiles. And I got the itch to become a dentist. And
nice.
Luckily got into dental school. And the goal was to practice with him. And it didn't turn out that way. Life took me to Philadelphia area, worked in a practice for about 5 years, honing my skills, and started my own bought a practice, in 2007. The dentist, unfortunately, had committed suicide.
Oh, wow.
And I bought a practice from the estate in March of 2007 and needed to build my following. And, to make a long story short, because I don't want to waste an hour talking about that, went online, started growing my following online, and basically built my following online and really didn't do much offline.
So all online, very cool.
All online, yeah. I did very little marketing offline. It's funny now. I actually just sent for the first time ever, because I have an associate after all these years, because I travel so much. I actually did my first mailer. We did a direct mail piece.
Oh,
the
really?
First time ever. Yeah. It's the first really traditional marketing I've ever really done, other than an ad in Philadelphia Magazine a long, long time ago. Other than that, no traditional marketing. And so we went online, realized how important online marketing was, got a ton of patients from doing this online stuff, really focused on what was working well, got a number of reviews from my patients, and that really set me apart from the other dentists in town, and realized that reviews were a way to not only differentiate yourself from the competition, but it really got the patients to come into the practice because that's what they were doing even back then. And reviews were really few and far between back in 2009, 2010, 2011, but it was attracting a ton of what I would refer to as fee-for-service patients.
Okay.
I'm not an insurance practice.
Awesome.
I only recently started taking insurance to get my associate a little busier, but for basically 11 and a half years, I took no insurance. So
Nice.
let me rephrase that, was we would, accept the assignment of benefit. We would submit the insurance for the patient. We would, obviously patients would pay their copay, but I was not contracted with any insurance company. So my fee was my fee. The patient would balance billed, so I got my fee no matter what. I would discount when I wanted to discount. If I liked somebody, no big deal.
Yeah.
Discount, I hated them, raise my fee. But these patients would come in because of what was going on online, what other people were saying about me. And that's kind of how I got started in my career as it is now. And, I spend 2 days a week in my office. I have an associate who works the other 2 days, and I travel about 40 weeks out of the year, teaching, exhibiting, showing off what we do and consulting. I do a lot of consulting now.
Oh, cool.
And,
so do you have a consulting company now that you've started?
Yeah, I did actually. That was the very first thing I did. So,
oh, cool. I didn't know that.
I realized. Yeah, people don't know that because I don't really, as you know, Jordan, I don't really promote from the stage.
Yeah.
I don't promote on social media. I don't like that. But I remember I would be getting calls in the middle of my speaking gig. So I really started speaking back in 2010, and I got a call in the very back of during my seminar from the back of the room. I said, "Why is my phone ringing?" And it was a local doctor, and he literally said, "Dude, you're killing me here. This thing's amazing. All the stuff you're teaching me. I need your help. You got to call me after the seminar." I'm like, I'm a dentist. I had an $18,000 a month debt service I had to pay back. I had over $1 million+ in debt at that point.
Wow.
I wasn't worried about helping dentists market themselves online.
Yeah.
And, but I would start doing these seminars all over. I was in New York, I was in Philly, I was in Jersey, and dentists would say, "I want your help, I want your help, I want your help." And I was like, maybe I need to start thinking about doing this. And finally I realized I needed to, and it was probably a good business sense to do. And I started a consulting company. So I've had a consulting company since 2011.
Nice.
It was called iSocial Dental Consulting, where I help dentists and their teams market themselves online. So I put a customized online marketing plan together for them, and I've gotten about 65 clients through that just by word of mouth, simply.
Oh, very cool.
And it's transitioning to, everything is changing really to Tau Dental Consulting, but that's how I created my own reputation software called iSocial Reviews. So everything's under that moniker, but we're transitioning everything to Tau Dental Consulting now, which will all be kind of released in the next number of months as we rebrand everything.
Very cool, man. Yeah, I had no idea. That's awesome. Cool. Well, let's get into it. Let's talk about reviews, and hear from the wisdom of the NBA Jam champion. So, from your opinion, from your viewpoint, and from your experience, why do you think reviews are so important to practices?
Well, for one, Google relies on them heavily for rankings, and I think you have to be a really trusted business by Google. If Google doesn't trust you, they don't rank you. So that's number one.
Yeah, you got to be credible in Google's eyes.
Right. You got to be credible. And not only from Google, but they make you really credible in patients' eyes as well.
Absolutely.
And, every single day, when we get new patients in, when I introduce myself and, I see most new patients who come into the practice, I always say to them, tell me what I can do for you. Tell me how you heard about me. And I shut up and listen. And I was never like that. So one of the things I really learned throughout the years of kind of becoming a different person in my practice was I needed to just ask a question and shut up. We don't do a very good job of listening. So I've taken a lot of coaching throughout my years in dentistry, and one of the things I learned was to be a good listener. Yeah, because we're not good listeners in general. So I've taken listening classes, believe it or not.
Nice.
And I always
what do
like
they
to joke
do in
around.
listening classes?
They teach you how to listen. They really do. They just make you listen and listen. So
can you ask questions in those classes, or do you?
Well,
just
you
have
do,
to
but you have to listen. But you listen. They feed you the information, and they want you to kind of restate what they're saying. And
I see.
You have to be really listen to what they're saying to be able to restate it.
Yeah, I think that's
But
fantastic.
the joke is there's one person I don't listen to. It's my wife. I have selective hearing with her, but I'm an excellent listener and I retain a lot of the information. But I listen to what the patient says,
Yeah.
and if you listen to what the patient says, a lot of them will tell you how they heard about you and what they're looking to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a lot of the patients who come in, when you break it down to how they heard about you, it's I either heard you from another patient. They're not finding me on insurance websites, obviously, because I don't take insurance.
Yeah.
They're doing a Google search. They're looking for cosmetic dentist in Philadelphia or something of that type of search. And then when they look at that search, I'm visible online. Remember, it's not just being credible.
Oh,
You
yeah.
have to be visible as well.
Yeah.
So you become visible. When you become visible online, you have to have the reviews to back you up. And when they see the reviews, they're making that decision based on that, and they want to come in and become a patient of mine. So, patients are trusting the reviews. Google's trusting the reviews, and that's what's causing them to be making those decisions. So that's why you need to have the reviews there. I mean, that's really what the most important thing is. They're making decisions based on that. And nowadays, people are basically trusting the reviews almost as much as personal recommendations.
Wow.
So they're almost equal in that sense.
Yeah, I know.
86% of people trust reviews, which we call word of mouse, which is much we call
Nice.
word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it's pretty amazing.
It's essentially the
nowadays
same
how-
thing, right?
It is basically it is.
Yeah.
And that's really why reviews are really, really important. And if you're not getting them, your competition is, and they're going to bump ahead of you in online searches. So
Yeah.
you got to really pay attention to that.
Because that's a huge factor in the rankings too, right? For local businesses is reviews.
Well, local search rankings, there's a lot of factors. Google isn't really going, oh, but these are the main factors. But when people do the research, reviews are a big factor. What are called local citations, which is how your name, address, and phone number is appearing online on these directories. That's a big factor. How long your business has been online. So like domain rank is a big factor.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
How far you are from the center of the city is a big factor. So back in about 4 years ago, Google released what was called the Pigeon update. And
Okay,
when
yeah,
Pigeon
I remember that.
Yep, it was a big problem. I used to rank. I'm about 25 miles outside of Center City, Philadelphia. So I'm in Northeast Philadelphia,
Mm-hmm.
and I used to rank on almost every single map of Google search. When that Pigeon update came out, because I'm about 25 miles outside of Center City, I was not really visible on the maps anymore.
Oh, wow.
For Center City, for Philadelphia searches, because I was too far outside of the Philadelphia search.
Uh-huh.
So that hurt me immensely for a time being there, because that one update hurt people who weren't directly in the center of where people were searching. So that's another big ranking factor as well, as how far you are from where they're actually dictating where people are searching from.
So I got a question about that. How were you able to fix that?
Well, it takes a lot of hard work. It takes a lot of redoing how your marketing is. And that's why people always say, where the best investment is. It's not always SEO, because search engine optimization, if Google changes one of their algorithms, you can go from page 1 where you've been for a long time back to page 5, and you've got to spend all this money to re-SEO yourself. Yeah. So, it's a tough climb. It hurts you. It affects rankings. You see a dip in your patient that are coming in from online. So it's hard. It's a big game you have to play. The one thing that will always remain, unless you're doing things that are not really by the board or kosher, as Google says, are reviews. If you're getting your reviews by the books and not doing things that are illegal, as they claim, your reviews will always stick around, and they'll obviously keep you credible online, and that's what will continue to drive the patients into your practice.
Yeah, so it's kind of like, unlike a global or national like SEO, they want more backlinks, right? From third-party websites and credible websites, which is similar to like them raising their hands and saying, "I vote for this content that this website's creating," and things like that, right? So it's similar to what on a national scale, but instead of having it be like third-party websites vote for your website, right? You're having reviews do that for you.
Correct. The reviews is helping create the credibility you need.
Do local practices have
So-
to do they have to do like a backlinking strategy as well, or is reviews the only thing they should focus on?
No, it's the citations. It's making sure you
Okay.
have consistent citations as well. So, I was talking to a woman this morning, and she's an endodontist,
Uh-huh.
and she is new. She's been in practice about just under a year, and when you typed an exact search for her into Google, the whole first page she was only listed on 3 listings. The rest of them were her competitors and other people with the same name throughout the country or similar names throughout the country. Mm-hmm. So I said to her, I'm concerned that you're not even listed on some of these sites. And when we did a scan of her citations, she was like a really low score because most of the sites didn't have her name, address, and phone number even listed on those sites. So Google hadn't connected the dots yet.
Yeah, yeah.
So as another example, I was talking to a practice in North Carolina, and they have 128 reviews, have been in practice a long time. They're in a somewhat smaller town, and they have a lot of reviews, and they were not visible on the maps. They couldn't find them. And
Wow.
the doctor was wondering why, and I did a scan of their citations, and it turns out they moved about 5 years ago, number one. And so you saw the name of their
they didn't
practice.
update anything. Yeah.
Right. So you saw the name of their practice, but a lot of the listings were under the doctor's name, and their address was still listed incorrectly on a lot of these sites. So Google saw this stuff incorrectly, and they weren't giving them credit for having consistent listings. So they were obviously almost penalizing them for this inconsistency online, so they weren't ranking on the maps because of them. So that's a big deal, and people don't realize how big a deal it is. So a lot of times I get, from my questions in my seminars, why is this office who has less reviews than me ranked above me on the maps? A lot of times it's because the citations are inconsistent for this practice.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I've always wondered that too. I didn't know that was the case. Very cool.
Yeah, and another thing I get a lot of is when I'm talking to dentists and their teams is, when I'm in my office, I rank, I'm always ranking the top of a Google search, or when I ask them, where do you rank on a Google search? They go, we're always ranking number 1. I'm like, are you sure? And when I look them up on my computer in incognito mode,
yeah, you got to do it in incognito.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, they're on page 12, and they're like, why? I go, well, because you always rank number 1, and you're number 2 when you're browsing from your own computer and your location. So one of the tips I give the listeners is if you do a Google search for yourself, make sure you're in incognito mode.
Yeah, we do that all the time because we obviously check our rankings and things like that for keywords that we're ranking for in the industry, and we always open up incognito windows to test that, and obviously we have other software tools that help rank that, help test and track that as well. But that's definitely a good strategy because, like you said, most practices are going to get in there and Google from their own computer on their, they've probably been to their site a couple times or a few times, and it's just going to show up first. That's funny. Cool. So I want to talk about how can reviews help a practice become unique compared to their competition?
Well, again, I think it's the fact that it really differentiate yourself.
Yeah.
It's going to help you really stand out in a way that your competition doesn't have those reviews. I mean, it's.
So what if a practice, there's 2 practices, and let's say they both have amazing reviews. Like, I guess if that's the case, the patient or the potential patient is going to read each of those reviews, and you got to make sure that your patients are saying some pretty cool things about you, right? That's
Yeah. So of course. So one of the things is a lot of the reviews you look at, if you pull up any Google page, you'll see different types of reviews written.
Uh-huh.
Like the visit was great. That review is
pretty
nothing special.
Yeah, that's pretty generic.
Okay.
It's
right.
like they gave me a gift card and I said it was great, so I got my gift card. If they're doing that, right?
Right. Well, you shouldn't be doing
You
that.
shouldn't be doing
by
that.
the way.
No.
Right. You're not supposed to incentivize patients for reviews, number 1.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm
So
sure it
there's
happens.
Yeah, of course it happens all over the place. But if you
Yeah.
get caught, you're in trouble. That's a big no-no. No incentivizing patients for reviews.
Yeah,
That's
good.
a big no-no out there. So, but
So you're saying they have to be completely authentic?
100%.
Yeah.
100% authentic reviews. You cannot pay. You cannot pay a patient for reviews. You cannot get reviews from the same Wi-Fi in the office or from a same IP address. Definitely do not that either. Those are big no-nos in the industry.
Oh, okay.
No kiosk, nothing. You got to be real careful how you're getting these
Really?
reviews.
I didn't know no kiosk.
But going back to what you just said, was, you want to have nice, unique content in the review. So you want a story basically from the patients. So a lot of the reviews you'll see like a one-liner, great experience. That doesn't help you that much.
It doesn't.
Okay. No. I mean, if there's just star ratings, that doesn't help you that much either.
No.
So if you look at reviews and you see 20 reviews that have no writing in them, doesn't help you that much either. But if there's a story about their experience, talking about mentioning certain procedures, mentioning certain employees' names, those are all things that really help you stand out from the competitors when they're actually being written by your patients about authentic experiences in the office.
So I think this is awesome. How can the practice influence those stories?
So, I always recommend that, no matter how you're generating the reviews, and there's many ways, I think we'll talk about it later, about how to generate reviews, but you always want to have a conversation with them. And I don't want to say feed the information to them, but say, hey, we would love you to write about your experience related to, the anesthesia or related to your Invisalign experience. Let them know that there's specific things you want to talk about.
Perfect. So get really specific. You probably already know that they're happy with the Invisalign experience. So you say, we'd love for you to write about your Invisalign experience with us today.
Correct. I happen to rank very high for Invisalign in Philadelphia. I have a lot of reviews about the Invisalign experiences. So there's certain keywords. Remember, Google likes unique content.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. Every review that's really written well should be unique content about your business because they're unique experiences just related to your practice. So the more unique experiences that people can write about, the better it's going to do for you online.
Okay, cool. So get to know your patients, be authentic yourselves with your patients, and create a relationship with them. And once you do that, they're going to create some awesome content for you.
Well, I like to say you create the raving fans, patients. The raving patients will help you do all the stuff online. So
Absolutely.
you want to use the power of your raving patients, to generate more new patients. That's what basically the whole point of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Perfect. No, that's awesome. I love that. So, okay, my next question here. We all deal with this. No matter what type of business you're in, you deal with it. What is your recommendation to handle negative reviews?
So I always have taught that a bad review may spoil your breakfast, but you shouldn't allow it to spoil your lunch. Okay. So, for those guys out there, a bad review is like getting kicked in the groin. It's a painful experience.
It is painful, yeah.
And I always also state that, look, I'm a New Yorker. I grew up in New York. I live in Philadelphia. I have a New York attitude, so I get my fair share of negative reviews. I piss people off with my comments. I don't have a filter. That's what I do.
Yeah, I love it.
And I have about 1,700 reviews online across all different review sites.
1,700. Wow, that's incredible.
Yep, for a solo practice, that's a lot. Okay.
Wow.
Look, it's something I've been doing for a long time, but I have my fair share of negative reviews. I think I'm up to about 90 negative reviews.
Well, but you can never please everybody. We all know that.
No, I say a perfect business isn't one with perfect reviews.
Yeah.
It's one that deals with reviews perfectly. And you don't want perfect reviews. I don't recommend anybody has only 5-star reviews because that's thought of negatively in its own sense. Surveys will show you that, the ideal score is like 4.6, 4.7, or 4.8, not 5.0.
Yeah.
People question those. So we're going to negative reviews. We're not perfect. There's money issues. There's wait times. There's rude people in your office every so often. We can't be perfect.
Yeah.
So people will be expected to leave some negative feedback on you online. Okay. On my own website, I show some negative reviews because I want to be authentic. It makes you authentic.
Yeah.
So
it does.
Expect it. Okay. And I always say, if you have perfect reviews, piss a person off here and there because you want to get some negative reviews online. That's what I always say to people, and they crack up because that's. They always say it's true. Well, I do it naturally sometimes, unfortunately.
I love it.
That's just me. It's just who I am. Love me or hate me. That's just who I am.
Yeah.
But it's usually around money. I mean, money, running late. Those are things people complain about. And
totally.
So I work hard for my money. I want to be paid. That's really what the issue is. So if you get a negative review, relax, take a deep breath for 20 minutes. No, because you don't want to be angry when you respond.
No, you don't.
Because if you're angry when you respond, that will live with you forever online.
Yeah.
Okay, that's hard to get rid of.
Yeah.
So I personally don't like responding online, and that is because a lot of times it will piss the person off, and they'll re-respond and write something even worse.
Oh gosh.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I have very specific examples of that I showed during my seminars of where it's really backfired for the dentists. Okay. So, I recommend if you know who the person is, take it offline, reach out to them via email or phone or text, say, hey, I saw the review, can we correspond and discuss it, fix their problem. A lot of times they'll take the review down or change the star rating, which has happened multiple times to me. So I've had issues where I've had to resolve the issue. They've changed the star rating on their own. I don't ask them to take the review down. They fix it on their own.
Yeah.
If you do want to respond, it's fine. Just don't be angry. Don't curse them out. Don't tell them they're a monster or a-hole or every other word under the sun, which I've seen people do.
Yeah, I've seen that too in some reviews. It's kind of embarrassing if you.
Yeah, don't embarrass yourself.
Yeah,
no, don't do that. Yep, don't do that. Be authentic. If you want to respond, just always apologize, even if you're not sorry. Just say, I'm sorry. You had this experience. You can't acknowledge they're a patient. That is not a HIPAA violation. HIPAA violation is actually acknowledging something private about so if you say, thanks for the feedback, we're sorry you had the problem that you had, but you hadn't been to our office in 3 years, and that's why your gums were bleeding profusely when you got your cleaning and they hurt. You can't say that.
Yeah, that's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah, that's a HIPAA violation.
Yeah.
Okay?
Don't violate HIPAA.
Right. But you can't acknowledge they're a patient. That's not a HIPAA violation. Mm-hmm. So you can respond. Just be careful with the response. That's all I would say. Me personally, I don't like responding to negative feedback online because I think it could start a war of words that's in public.
Would you recommend, like, if somebody were to like send a bad review, would you say, hey, I'll have me or someone from my team reach out and chat with you about this? That way the readers that read the reviews know that you're actively trying to improve and help your patients. Would you advise doing something like that? At least some type of response?
Yes, you can. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah,
you can do that. There should be no problem. I mean, you can do that. There's no issues. It works great doing it that way. But you just got to be careful, again, what you say in the response.
Okay.
You can say, please reach out so we can discuss your concerns offline. There's a lot of things you can say.
Yeah. Okay.
Just do it. Just be nice and it may be better. I personally, like I said, I'd like to do it offline first, and if they don't respond to me offline, you can put something online.
Okay, I see. Great tip. No, I think that's awesome because I've gotten bad reviews every once in a while, right? And we'll try to discuss it offline, and I'll personally try to call like our clients and things like that, because it happens, right? It's totally normal thing in every business, and in my opinion, when you get a negative review, it's feedback, right? You want to be aware of the feedback and aware of why somebody might not be happy and how can you and your team consciously fix that issue, right?
I call it. I don't say you're going to. When I discuss it with patients, I ask for feedback about their experiences. I don't ask for a review. I don't like that terminology.
Oh, good. Yeah, that's cool.
I think when you ask for a review, it sounds really corny. Like, can you leave me a review? No, I ask for feedback about their experience.
It's like it's not like you're giving 2 thumbs up for a movie splat.
Right. It's not Siskel and Ebert. No,
yeah, it's not Siskel and Ebert. No.
Right, correct. It's you're asking for feedback about their experience.
Okay, very cool. I like that. So ask, can we get feedback on your experience with Invisalign, right? You'd be targeted.
Correct.
Okay,
right.
Perfect.
Be specific. And you can also say, and when you provide that feedback, we would like that to be on Google if possible. Something like that.
Cool. Yeah,
so you can really specify that.
Okay, very cool. Awesome, man. So what are some ways that a practice can generate reviews?
So there's a multitude of ways. Some are more effective than others. Some are less effective.
Okay.
So I think the easiest way is you've got to ask. And when I talk to practices all over the country, I always say, what are you doing to generate reviews? And they go nothing. So when someone says nothing, it must be nothing. Because the easiest way you can do it is ask. So you ask, like we just said, ask the patient, hey, we'd love to get some feedback about your experience. That means the patient has to go on their own to one of the review sites and leave a review. Okay, if you ask 100 people, if you get 2 or 3 to do it, it's a lot. Uh-huh. You're going to be frustrated with the results and probably stop very quickly. Okay. What some practices do is they put a card in the hygiene bag. Hey, leave us some feedback about your experience. Again, limited results.
Yeah.
There are some software companies, and I use there are some companies out there that and I'm a fan of these programs. Lighthouse, Demand Force, Solution Reach, Revenue Well, which I use personally.
Nice.
They all are. Yeah, they're all. I call them communication softwares. They get reviews mostly on their microsites, which are Patient Connect or Rate a Business or Smile Reminder. Most of those companies do not get third-party reviews, because they're not built to get those third-party feedback. They get first-party reviews, which is on their microsites. The other option is, these will automatically send a text message to the patient after the appointments. A program like Birdeye, which is our software, will send them directly to Google from our software, and that will allow the patients to, auto log in and make it easier for the patients to write a review directly on Google. Okay. So there are a number of different ways for these offices to generate reviews. The goal is to get them on places that matter, which is Google or Facebook, rather than a first-party review site that's not very well known or not trusted, like a Google or a Facebook. Okay,
very cool. So many ways to get some reviews for your practice, and tell us how practice, what's the best way to systematize these? I know there's a lot of solutions out there, and some practices even do it manually. What's the best? And I'm not a big fan of manual processes because there's a lot of room for error. What's the best way to systematize reviews?
So, like I said, in my opinion, the best way to do it is to use a service that automates everything for you.
Yeah.
That after the appointment, we sync up to a practice management software, whether it's, Dentrix or EagleSoft or SoftDent or Open Dental or any of the major platforms, PracticeWorks. When you complete the appointment, we know that the patient came in and left. At the end of the day, we send out the message to them via email or text. Obviously, text has a significantly higher open rate out there. 97% of all text messages are open within 3 minutes of receiving them.
Yes, that's awesome.
There's a huge number of open rate versus an email, which is, I just to use some of my numbers, I have a 31% open rate on my text. I have a 3% open rate on my email. Huge difference.
Wow, yeah.
But they receive a text message at the end of the day. Again, limited. You still want to have a conversation with the patients during the day, letting them know that they will receive a message asking them for feedback about their experience, and that you look forward to reading what they have to say, so they're more apt to do it, knowing that someone actually is going to read about it.
Yeah. Cool.
And when it's automated, it's nice. I mean, look, there's nothing wrong with manually doing it, but I find that when manual is involved fully, then it dies down after a while because you're involving the human element.
Yeah.
So I think that you think that there's a lot of other things involved, and you can't continue doing it for a long period of time manually.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, because I've seen, just with what we do with our software, I see people trying to do manual systems and stuff, and you're right. They get into you have a person doing it, and sometimes there's some gaps, and it's not always consistent. So,
yeah, when I had my software program, iSocial Reviews, it was all manual. There was no integrations at all, and I would have I would have a ton of dentists who would do great for months, and then all of a sudden they would just drop off, and it would be hard to get back going again. It's kind of like when you use a gym membership, where you use like a piece of a treadmill and stuff, and then you use it for the first 3 months, and you would never use it again. You would turn into a coat hanger, it would never get used.
Yeah.
That similar type of issues there.
Yeah, totally. Cool. Well, tell us, Len, I think this is an awesome episode. You gave some good tips. I talk a lot about reviews. Not like I'm not an expert, but I talk a lot with people that understand reviews, and I actually learned more with you than with others.
Well, I mean,
really cool.
most people, I mean, not to toot my own horn, but most people tell me that. So
yeah. No, I definitely can see that. So, if a practice wants to learn more about you, or I mean, you've got your consulting side. You tell us a little bit about that, and then I know you work with Birdeye. Tell us all about those details, where people can contact you or see a demo of Birdeye for reviews.
Sure. So I have my own consulting. I help practices with their online marketing. I put together customized marketing, plans for them. I have a variety of different vendors I work with, so I don't actually do the work, but I have a relationship. They get preferred pricing through my relationships with them. If there's interest in that, they can go to my website. It's Dr. Len Tau, so it's drlentau.com, and there's a whole way they can reach out to me on that site. Birdeye is a reputation marketing platform. We help practices with their visibility online, their credibility online, and we help get them social proof. It's an automated platform that I was just describing. If they want to see a demo of that, they can also go and they can email me personally for that. My email is drlentau, so it's drlentau at birdeye.com. I always am available to do demos on that. And if they reach out to Birdeye directly, they can also go to birdeye.com, and they can ask for a demo. Almost all of the leads that are generated through Birdeye go personally through me, and I do the personalized demo with the practices themselves.
Oh, cool.
I'm also happy to share my cell phone. People can call me directly. My cell phone number is 215-292-2100. Usually very easily gotten a hold of. I do practice dentistry a couple days a week, so the only reason that I would not respond very quickly is, one, I'm drilling, or I'm treating someone's mouth, I'm sleeping, which is usually very late at night, I'm traveling on a plane, or I'm lecturing somewhere. Other than those four reasons, I'm usually very, very quickly to respond to somebody's request for something.
Cool. No, that's awesome, man. I think this is a good episode and very informative for at least me, which is a good sign, I think.
Well, I enjoyed spending the time with you, and I'm glad that we got to chat, and I hope the listeners are happy, and if they have questions, they can certainly reach out to me.
Awesome, Len. Okay, everyone, thanks for listening to our episode today. We hope you guys have a rockin' day.